Annabelle set Sunday supper on Silas Boone's porch while he stood behind the curtain, pretending not to see her. The blue stoneware crock was wrapped in a cream-colored cloth to hold the heat. Steam had dampened one corner, and the smell of beef, onions, and rosemary followed Anna's hands as she lowered it beside the warped door. She knocked twice. "Silas, it's only me." A floorboard answered from inside, then nothing. Anna had known that silence for 3 years. Every Sunday after church, she carried a meal across the snowy field. Every Monday, the empty dish appeared on her back step, scrubbed so clean it seemed Silas hoped cleanliness might serve in place of gratitude. She was 30 years old, not a girl dropping gifts because she did not know her own mind. Silas was 52, old enough to have buried a wife and daughter in the same winter and young enough to know when he was hiding behind their graves. Anna waited until the cold reached through her gloves. "I made enough for 2 sittings, she said toward the door. "Don't try eating it all cold." The curtain shifted. She turned away before disappointment could make her knock again. Snow creaked beneath her boots. She had nearly reached the gate when the porch hinge groaned behind her. Silas stepped into the pale afternoon, holding himself in the shadow of the doorway. His black shirt hung loosely at the shoulders, and his hair had gone more silver than brown since the fever winter. He lifted the crock. For one brief moment, Anna thought he might call her back. Instead, a wagon rounded the bend. Daniel Voss drew his matched bays to a stop beside the gate. He owned the general store, wore a good wool coat without making a show of it, and spoke easily to people who made Silas lower his eyes. "Miss Bell," Daniel said, "that road is turning slick. May I take you home?" Anna glanced toward the porch. Silas had not gone inside, but he made no move down the steps. "I can walk," she said. "I know you can." Daniel shifted the reins to one hand. "That isn't why I offered." It was a fair answer. Anna climbed into the wagon because refusing useful help, merely to prove she was strong, would have been another kind of foolishness. Daniel tucked the lap robe across her knees without touching her. As the wagon pulled away, Anna looked back once. Silas remained beside the open door with her supper in his hands, watching another man carry her home. By Monday morning, the wind had polished the wagon ruts into hard silver grooves. Anna was breaking ice from the pump when Silas crossed her yard with the washed crock beneath his arm. Not a scrap remained inside. Even the rosemary stem was gone. "You could have left it on the step," she said. Silas held it out. "Could have." Before Anna could ask why he had not, Daniel came through the gate carrying a paper sack of seed onions she had ordered for spring. He greeted Silas, then placed the sack beside the pump. "I'm glad to find you both here," Daniel said. His gaze settled on Anna. "I'd like permission to call on you properly. I don't mean an idle visit. I'm asking with marriage in mind." Anna did not reach for the crock. "Blue Fork has been arranging my future for years. Mr. Voss, are you asking for the town or yourself?" "For myself." That answer deserved consideration. Still, Anna looked at Silas. He stood close enough to hear, clutching the empty dish between both hands. She gave him the silence he had given her porch, leaving room for one honest word. Silas looked at Daniel's good coat, then at Anna's face. "Mr. Voss is a sound man," he said quietly. "Any woman would be fortunate to have him." Anna took the empty crock from Silas before his careful kindness could wound her twice. "Thank you for the recommendation," she said. "I had not realized Mr. Voss was asking you." Color rose above Silas's collar. Daniel looked from one to the other, but he had the sense not to mistake tension for flirtation. "I asked you, Miss Bell," he said, "and I can wait for your own answer." Anna respected him for that. "You may call next Sunday." Daniel thanked her and left through the gate without triumph. Silas turned after him, but Anna placed the crock on the pump shelf and caught Silas by the sleeve before he could follow. "Do you want me to keep bringing supper?" His arm went still beneath her hand. "That is your affair." "No. Cooking it is my affair. Carrying it across a frozen field to your door concerns us both." Silas looked toward the white pasture separating their houses. "You have been neighborly. I never meant to presume upon it." Anna released his sleeve. "Presuming would require asking for something. You have managed 3 years without doing that." His gaze settled on the crock. Daniel can give you a warm house in town. No roof leaks, no stock needing attention before daylight. I have a house. You know what I mean. She did. He meant a husband who had not buried the hopeful part of himself. He meant music after church, lamps in every room, and a man who would stand beside her where people could see. What angered Anna was not that Silas believed Daniel could offer those things. It was that he had decided she valued them more than she valued choosing for herself. I will bring supper as long as I decide to bring it, she said. But do not call my choice a habit merely because you are afraid to answer it. She lifted the crock and went inside. Daniel arrived the following Sunday in a polished cutter with brass bells on the harness. He brought no flowers that would freeze before evening. Instead, he brought a catalog from Helena containing seed varieties Anna had never seen in Blue Fork. They spent an hour at her kitchen table comparing growing times. Daniel listened when she explained why half the advertised vegetables would fail in Montana soil. He marked the useful varieties with a pencil and offered to include them in his next store order. It was a pleasant visit. That made matters harder. When Daniel left, Anna filled the blue crock with chicken, barley, carrots, and thick gravy. She carried it to Silas's ranch under a sky the color of old tin. The leather pull on his porch door had split almost halfway through. Anna touched the frayed edge before knocking. You need to replace this. Silas answered from inside. I will. You said that last winter? The floorboard creaked, but the door remained shut. Anna left the crock and walked home without looking back. 4 mornings later, thaw water ran along the store steps when Daniel asked her to help examine the food stored for Blue Fork's spring supper. The church committee had more bruised apples than fresh ones, too few sacks of flour, and enough winter roots to discourage any appetite. Anna sorted the sound produce from the spoiled, reduced the flour estimate, and named 6 dishes that could feed the town without pretending it was midsummer. Daniel watched her write the revised list. The supper is 4 Sundays from now, he said. If our calls go well, I intend to ask for your hand that evening. Silas stood at the store counter behind them, a coil of new leather in his hands. Anna heard it tighten beneath his fingers. She looked directly at Daniel. You may ask, but Blue Fork does not get to supply my answer. Daniel answered without looking toward the men at the counter. Then Blue Fork may keep its opinion. I asked for yours. He returned to weighing beans for a customer. Silas paid for the strip of leather and left the store without saying goodbye. Anna watched him cross the muddy street. He had heard both her warning and Daniel's answer. Yet the only choice he had made was to leave. By Saturday, the bruised apples from the church storehouse covered 3 tables in Anna's kitchen. She cut away soft spots, simmered the sound fruit with a little molasses, and tested how far 1 sack of flour could stretch when mixed with mashed winter squash. Daniel arrived carrying 2 baskets of parsnips and turnips. Behind him came 3 churchwomen, expecting to be told that the spring supper must be reduced. Anna gave each woman a knife. The roots are sound, she said. The apples are ugly, not useless, and we have enough barley if no one tries to serve it like cattle feed. She roasted the roots instead of boiling them gray. She thickened the barley with onions and dried sage, then folded the apples into small hand pies requiring half the usual flour. Before noon, the kitchen smelled less like the end of winter and more like a table people might willingly approach. Anna counted the filled pans and compared them with the church benches. We can feed 84, she said. 90, if the children take the smaller pies. One woman tasted the barley and quietly erased buy more flour from the committee list. Daniel carried the heavy pans to the storehouse under Anna's direction. He did not praise her as though thrift were a parlor trick. He asked for her figures, checked them once, and announced that the saved money could purchase lamp oil for the church. When Silas entered with a saddle strap needing a new buckle, he found half the committee following Anna's instructions. No one noticed him except Anna. He looked at the trays, then at her flour-covered sleeves. Smells good, he said. Most things do when someone opens the door in time. Silas laid the strap on Daniel's counter. The remark landed, his face showed it, but he merely asked the price of the buckle. That evening, Daniel walked Anna home. At her gate, he thanked her for rescuing the supper budget. I corrected a wasteful plan, she said. The food rescued itself. His smile came easily. You dislike being praised. I dislike being admired instead of heard. Daniel considered that before nodding. Then I will try to know the difference. It was another fair answer. Sunday bells were still fading when Anna checked the western sky. A pale band lay above the hills, but the air had the metallic bite that warned of changing weather. She filled the blue crock with chicken, barley, carrots, and thick gravy, then wrapped it in the cream cloth. One Sunday had passed. 3 remained before Daniel meant to ask his question. Anna crossed the field quickly. Fine rain began halfway to Silas's ranch and froze wherever it struck. The grass turned glassy beneath her boots. She shortened her steps, holding the crock against her ribs to protect it. Wind reached the porch at the same moment she did. Silas. She caught the leather pull. It tore free in her hand. The door swung outward and struck the crock against the porch post. Blue glaze chipped away near the handle. Anna nearly fell, but Silas caught her elbow from inside. For once, he had opened the door before she could leave. "Get in," he said. Anna stepped across the threshold as ice rattled against the roof. Silas forced the warped door shut, but the broken latch would not hold. He braced a chair beneath the knob while wind drove frozen rain across the road. Beyond the window, the track to Anna's house disappeared beneath a shining sheet of ice. She was inside Silas Boone's home at last. Now there was no safe way out. The wind shoved against the door until the chair legs scraped across the floor. Silas dragged a narrow bench from the wall and wedged it beneath the knob. Smoke had begun curling from the stove because the gusts were forcing air down the chimney. "Open the lower draft," Anna said. "It will throw sparks. Not if you feed it slowly." She knelt, wrapped her glove around the iron lever, and opened it 1 careful inch. Silas split 2 dry sticks into kindling while she twisted newspaper beneath the grate. The new flame heated the chimney enough to reverse the draft. Smoke lifted, the room cleared, and the stove began giving honest warmth. Silas hung the cream cloth near the hearth. Mud streaked its hem, and a brown scorch mark appeared when the wind snapped it against the stove. Anna examined the crock. A crescent of blue glaze was missing beside the handle, but the stoneware beneath had not cracked. "It survived," Silas said. "So did supper." She removed the lid. The gravy was still warm. Silas reached automatically for 1 plate. Anna opened his cupboard and took down a second. He watched her wipe dust from it. "How long since anyone ate with you?" His hand stopped above the drawer. 6 winters. Anna set both plates on the table without offering pity. "Then you have forgotten where the forks go?" That earned the smallest sound from him, not laughter exactly, but something that had once been close to it. They ate while ice tapped the windows. Silas took his time, as if a meal shared at a table required a skill he no longer trusted. Anna spoke about the spring supper menu and Daniel's impossible seed catalog. Silas listened without telling her which future would be best for her. When the crock was empty, he turned it between his rough hands. "My wife used to complain that I swallowed food too fast." He said, "Our girl would count my bites and make me start again." The fire shifted softly. "They both took fever within 5 days," he continued. "Afterward, every room sounded like I had arrived too late." Anna folded her hands around her cup. "That explains why you closed the door." Silas looked at her. "It does not give grief the right to decide who waits outside it." His gaze dropped to the chipped crock. "Wanting another life can feel like saying the first one was not enough. No one is asking you to replace what you had." Anna rose and carried the plates to the basin. "But the dead do not need you to prove your love by refusing the living." The storm held through midnight. Silas gave Anna the bedroom and slept in the chair beside the braced door. At dawn, he tested the road with a shovel, then walked her across the hard ice without touching her unless her boots slipped. Anna left the crock behind. "Keep it until I can bind that handle," she said. Silas held the damaged vessel against his coat. Sunday, then. It was the first time he had asked about the next meal. 3 shoots rose from the seed onions beside Anna's window. Water began dripping from the church eaves at noon. Wagon wheels cut brown channels through the retreating snow, and the grass between Anna's house and Silas's ranch appeared in ragged patches. Each Sunday, she brought supper in another dish. Each Monday, Silas returned it himself. Yet he never invited her inside again. At the spring supper, every one of Anna's 84 places filled. The roasted roots vanished first, Children carried the small apple pies outdoors, and the church still had money left for lamp oil. Daniel waited until the tables had been cleared. Then he stood beside Anna beneath the new lamps, where the congregation could see him. "Annabelle," he said, holding out a plain gold ring, "will you be my wife?" The room became so quiet that Anna heard Silas set down his cup. She looked at Daniel, then at the townspeople, already leaning toward the answer they expected. "I need 2 Sundays." Daniel lowered the ring but did not withdraw it. "You shall have them." Silas approached after the crowd began moving again. "Daniel is a sensible choice," he said. Anna met his eyes. "Then why do you look as though I have already said yes?" Silas looked toward the open church door instead of answering Anna. Outside, Daniel was accepting congratulations he had not yet earned. Inside, people stacked plates and folded tablecloths while pretending not to listen. "I know what he can offer," Silas said. "You know what his house can offer. You have not once asked what I want." His jaw tightened. "I will not have you waste your best years waiting on a man with more graves behind him than plans ahead." Anna's anger went quiet. "Then stop calling this sacrifice. You are not giving me a future. Silas, you are refusing to risk one." She took her coat from the peg. Daniel offered to walk her home, but Anna declined. For once, she wanted no man beside her while she decided what belonged to her and what had merely been placed there by expectation. The church lamps dwindled behind her as she crossed Blue Fork alone. Some silences are not empty at all. They are crowded with words a person fears will change everything once spoken. But silence also makes a choice, often for someone who never agreed to it. Have you ever waited for an answer until the waiting itself became the answer? Sunday came bright and cold. Anna roasted a small chicken with 1 potato and 1 onion. She set a single plate on her table. Her hands reached automatically for the larger knife, the one she used when dividing Silas's portion. She put it back. The blue crock was still at his ranch, and she filled no substitute. At noon, she ate beside her window while steam clouded one pane. Across the field, Silas's porch stood bare. For the first time in 3 years, no supper crossed it. Silas opened his door before the usual hour. The new strip of leather he had bought still lay unused on the workbench, and the swollen door scraped hard enough to score the floor. There was nothing outside. He walked to the gate, looked across the field, and waited until the cold entered his sleeves. Anna's chimney was smoking. She was home. Back in his kitchen, the chipped blue crock sat clean beside the stove. He had not lit a fire because some foolish part of him had been listening for her knock. He ate crackers over the basin and left the crock untouched. Monday morning, Anna opened her back door from habit. No washed dish waited on the step. She had known none would be there. Yet the bare board made the missing exchange feel official. At the pump, a churchwoman smiled and called her the future Mrs. Voss. "Annabelle will do until Annabelle says otherwise." Anna replied. The woman apologized, but the name followed Anna long after she carried the water inside. Daniel called on Anna Tuesday afternoon. Instead of bringing another catalog, he unlocked the rooms above his store and asked her to see them before deciding. The parlor had 2 wide windows. The kitchen held a good iron range, and a narrow room at the rear could serve as a pantry. Everything was clean, sound, and strangely finished, as though a woman might enter without leaving any mark of her own. Daniel indicated the back window. "You could grow herbs in boxes there. The ranch garden would be difficult to manage from town, but we could sell the land or lease it." Anna turned from the window. "My garden is not an unmarried habit I intend to outgrow." Daniel's expression changed, not with anger but recognition. "I spoke as if marriage meant fitting you into rooms I already built." "You did, then I spoke poorly." He crossed to the rear wall. "We could put a door here and fence the ground below, or keep your house and garden exactly as they are." His willingness to correct himself made him more worthy, not less. Anna wished he would reveal some small cruelty that could decide the matter for her. Instead, he listened. When they went downstairs, Daniel inspected his wagon in the storeyard. He tightened a loose lantern bracket and checked the wheels. "I will come after church next Sunday," he said. "Whatever your answer, I would rather hear it plainly." Anna nodded. "You will." Hoofbeats sounded along the street. Silas reined his horse beside the hitching rail. his gaze moving from Daniel's prepared wagon to Anna. One Sunday remained. Daniel would come for her answer, and Silas still held the empty crock. Anna went to Daniel's store before closing on Saturday. The last customers had left, and he was counting coins beneath the lamp. He closed the cash drawer when he saw her face. "You need not wait until tomorrow," he said. Anna removed her gloves. "I will still answer tomorrow because you asked before the town, and half of Blue Fork already calls me by your name." Daniel's mouth tightened at that, though not from anger. They had no right. "No, neither did I, if I allowed silence to encourage them." She placed both hands on the counter. "You are decent, Daniel. You listen when corrected, and I believe you would keep every promise you made. But I cannot marry a man because refusing him seems unreasonable." He studied her for a moment. "Then your answer is no." "Yes." Pain crossed his face without becoming accusation. He opened the drawer, placed the gold ring inside, and locked it. "I will come after church as arranged," he said. "Let them hear your answer from you." Anna left the store knowing she might finish Sunday with no suitor at all. The thought frightened her less than accepting a life merely because everyone else could explain it. Silas was waiting beside her garden gate when she reached home. The blue crock rested beneath his arm, its chipped handle turned inward. "I should have returned this sooner," he said. "You should have returned more than a dish." "I know." The words stopped Anna. Silas set the crock on the fence post and faced her without the shelter of a doorway. "I took every supper you brought. I let you cross that field in snow and rain. And I told myself I was protecting you by asking for nothing." His hands closed around the fence rail. "Truth is, I was taking what comfort you offered while leaving you to bear all the hope." Anna's eyes stung, but she did not rescue him from the rest. "That was wrong," he said. It was not a declaration. It did not offer a future. Yet it gave Anna something she had needed, almost as much proof that she had not imagined the meaning of those Sundays. "I'm telling Daniel no tomorrow," she said. "Not because you came here. Not because I expect you to become another man by morning." Silas nodded once. "You deserve more than regret." "Yes." He reached for the crock. "Take it," Anna said. "Bring it back when you understand the difference between returning a dish and returning care." Silas carried it home through the dusk. Sunday's sunlight fell across the stack of bowls in his cupboard. Some were plain white, one had a brown rim, and another bore a small crack Anna had sealed with milk years earlier. He remembered what each had carried stew after a February cattle count, biscuits during calving, peach cobbler on the first anniversary he had managed to leave his bedroom. They had been the only conversation he had permitted to continue. Across the field, Anna's chimney sent up a straight ribbon of smoke. The second Sunday had arrived, and no figure appeared carrying supper. Silas lit his stove. He cut carrots unevenly, browned onions too quickly, and nearly drowned the barley before remembering how thick Anna made it. He added chicken, sage, and the last spoonful of preserved tomatoes from a jar she had brought in autumn. Then he lowered the heat and waited until the broth held together. While it cooked, he rubbed the chipped edge of the blue handle smooth and bound it with a narrow strip of leather. He wrapped the crock in the cream cloth, now marked by mud and the brown scorch from the storm. Before leaving, he fitted the remaining leather through the hole in his porch door. The new pull hung crooked, but when he opened the door, he did not close it behind him. Mud caught at his boots as he crossed the thawing field with the warm crock held against his chest. Church wagons were dispersing along the road. Daniel's matched bays turned toward Anna's house ahead of him. Silas quickened his steps. When he reached her gate, Daniel's wagon was already there. Voices sounded beyond Anna's door, and Silas had no way to know whether she had given her answer. Daniel stood in Anna's parlor with two women from the church committee near the window. They had followed from the service carrying a basket of leftover bread and the certainty that they were about to witness a happy conclusion. Daniel did not make Anna repeat the entire private conversation. "You asked for 2 Sundays," he said. "They have passed. Will you give Blue Fork your answer?" Anna faced the women rather than the ring he had left locked in his store. "My answer belongs to Mr. Voss first. But since the question was asked before all of you, the answer should be heard plainly. I will not marry him." One woman drew a surprised breath. The other looked toward Daniel, waiting for him to persuade Anna into good sense. Daniel only bowed his head. I hoped for another answer. I still thank you for an honest one. You deserved it. So did you? He offered his hand. Anna took it, and the matter ended without anger, disgrace, or anyone being ruined. Daniel had lost a hope-for wife, not his dignity. Anna had lost the future Blue Fork understood and kept the right to build one. It did not. A knock sounded at the door. The church women exchanged glances. Anna opened it. Silas stood on the step with mud to his knees and the blue crock held against his chest. The cream cloth around it was smoke-stained and streaked from the thawing field. He had smoothed the chipped handle and bound it with leather, though his repair sat as crookedly as the new pull on his ranch door. His gaze found Daniel first. I am too late, he said. No, Anna answered, but you nearly were. Daniel collected his hat. As he passed Silas, he paused only long enough to say, she has already given me her answer. Whatever you came to say, do not make her drag it out of you. Then he walked to his wagon. Silas remained on the porch. The church women remained by the window. Anna did not dismiss them. For 3 years, Silas had accepted her care in private while allowing the town to believe it meant nothing. If he wanted another beginning, he could choose it where others might see. He held out the crock. I brought supper. Anna lifted the cloth. Steam carried the smell of chicken, barley, sage, and onions into the doorway. The carrots had been cut in 3 different sizes, and a little broth had leaked beneath the lid. But it was a complete meal. You cooked this. I tried to cook what you taught me without ever standing beside the stove. A few people returning from church had stopped near the gate. Silas noticed them and did not lower his voice. Your suppers were the only warmth I let into my house, he said. I told myself I was honoring the family I lost. I was only using grief to avoid risking what I still wanted. Anna gripped the warm cloth. What do you want, Silas? You? Not because my house is cold. Not because I need feeding. I want your judgment when mine fails. Your stubborn garden, and every Sunday you choose to share. I want the Mondays too, when the dishes are empty and there is work to be done. His voice roughened, but he continued. I cannot promise I will never be afraid. I can promise I will stop making my fear answer for you. If you are willing, I would like to court you openly. No cheer rose from the road. No one applauded. The 2 churchwomen simply picked up their basket and moved toward the door. Miss Bell, one of them said, using Anna's proper name at last, shall we leave the bread? Anna nodded toward the kitchen, set it beside the plates. That small request changed more than praise could have. The women obeyed Anna rather than arranging her future, then left and closed the gate behind them. Anna carried the crock inside. Silas followed only when she stepped aside to invite him. She filled 2 bowls and tasted his stew. The barley was soft, the onions were too dark, and the rosemary was missing. It needs work, she said. Silas removed his hat. So do I. One supper, Anna told him. Then an honest courtship. No promises borrowed from loneliness. One supper, he agreed. She placed the second bowl across from hers. And next Sunday, if I come to your house, that door opens before I knock. Silas met her eyes. It will. When the church bells rang 7 mornings later, Silas was already at Anna's gate. He had brought coffee, 2 pieces of toast wrapped in cloth, and a written list of everything he had done wrong with the stew. Rosemary appeared at the top. Anna read the list, then handed it back. You forgot salt. Silas added it with the pencil he carried for cattle figures. 3 mornings later, Silas helped turn Anna's garden soil. He listened when she refused his plan for straight rows and built the bean supports according to her measurements instead of his own. He did not arrive only when he feared losing her. Anna stopped cooking every meal large enough to feed him. On alternate Sundays, Silas prepared supper. His first biscuits were heavy enough to hold down a roof shingle. His second batch rose unevenly. By the 4th, Anna ate 2 without offering advice. He also began opening his house for reasons that had nothing to do with food. He lifted the curtains, washed the second plate properly, and placed a small framed likeness of his wife and daughter on the parlor shelf instead of keeping it hidden in a bedroom drawer. Their memory did not leave when Anna entered. It became part of a house no longer arranged around absence. At church, people needed time to surrender the future they had designed for her. One woman began to ask when Anna would move to Silas's ranch, then stopped herself. "What have you decided?" she asked instead. "That we are courting," Anna said. "The rest will be decided when it belongs to us." Daniel treated her answer with the same dignity he had shown at her house. When the Helena seed order arrived, he delivered every packet she had selected and asked whether the store should carry them the following year. He did not withdraw respect because she had refused marriage. Spring moved visibly across Blue Fork. Snow disappeared from the north sides of the barns. Anna's seed onions outgrew the kitchen window, and Silas carried half of them to his ranch in a wooden box. Green shoots soon lined both houses, turning separate gardens into a shared experiment rather than a promise made too quickly. Silas never called the seedlings hers once they reached his window, nor his because they stood on his land. He called them ours only after Anna used the word first. The blue crock changed with them. A tinsmith reinforced its injured handle with fine wire, leaving the chipped glaze visible beneath the repair. Anna refused Silas's offer to replace it. "It still holds supper," she said. By late April, the field between their homes had dried enough for Anna to cross without watching every step. She wrapped the crock in the same cream cloth, though the scorch mark and mud stains would never wash out completely. Silas's ranch house stood ahead, with both kitchen curtains open. Smoke rose from the chimney. Through the window, Anna saw 2 plates on the table, 2 cups beside them, and rosemary growing in a box where dust had once collected. The porch boards had been scrubbed. Silas had planed the swollen edge from the door and fitted a strong leather pull where the broken one had hung. Anna climbed the steps with the wire-mended crock warm in her hands. Before her knuckles reached the wood, the latch lifted. This time, Silas opened the door before Anna had to knock.